Hello and welcome to another virtual edition of Public Comment. I'm Council Member at Large Derek Green. It's hard to believe that it's been 1 year since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. And we've been able to get through so many things, but I think we're now finally to see the light at the end of the tunnel. The Biden administration has really hit the ground running in its efforts to ramp up the number of vaccines being manufactured and distributed nationally. The administration had a goal of doing 100 vaccinations within its first 100 days, and it looks like they're going to surpass that goal. In addition, on the 1-year anniversary of the World Health Organization declaring the coronavirus as a global pandemic, President Biden signed into law the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan as a way to increase the number of vaccines in our nation, but also address all of the challenges that came out of this global pandemic and how it's impacted the United States. Today's guest is Anuj Gupta. He is the Chief of Staff to Congressman Dwight Evans, who was very instrumental in working to get the American Rescue Plan passed. And we'll hear about how this plan will impact citizens in the city of Philadelphia and also what's next on the horizon in Congress. So we'll be back in a few moments with more public comment.
Did you know that the Free Library's robust collection of digital resources can be accessed from anywhere with your library card? Enjoy ebooks, audiobooks, movies, TV, magazines, homework help, online language courses and professional development workshops, and much more, all from the comfort of your home. Visit freelibrary.org and select Databases or Digital Media to get started now. All you need is your library card and PIN number. Find us online. We're here for you.
Hi, welcome back to Public Comment. For today's show, we're joined by the Chief of Staff of Congressman Dwight Evans, Anuj Gupta. Anuj, welcome to Public Comment.
Thank you, Councilman. Great to be on.
Glad for you to be here. So can you give us a little perspective for the viewers? Congressman Evans has been a member of the State House for a number of years. He was chair of the Appropriations Committee. He's now in Congress. I know he's been very influential in helping to get the American Rescue Plan passed. So can you give us some perspective on his role in the passage of the plan and how it will benefit Philadelphians?
Absolutely. So let me first just start off by acknowledging and thanking you for your advocacy in moving that plan forward. Every voice mattered in getting this over the hill. The congressman is on two really important committees in the House of Representatives. One is the oldest committee, as written in the Constitution. It's the Ways and Means Committee, arguably the most impactful and influential with almost any policy area, domestic policy area. The other is the Small Business Committee, which up until the start of the pandemic, it was important, it was relevant, but it never took on the paramount importance that it has now. Between those two committees, more than half of the $1.9 trillion that is flowing across the country, communities across the nation, those two committees alone moved more than half of it towards completion. And the congressman was advocating for everything from small business relief, which folks on our corridors across the city still are desperately in need of. He advocated for expansion of tax credits, which we can talk a little bit more about, for food insecurity assistance. The American Rescue Plan is, in my opinion, it is a generational investment in people. And it's been a long time since a plan like this has been entirely focused on people. So it's an exciting, look, there's a lot of damage to repair, not only from the last year, but from decades of disinvestment and neglect across our city. And I believe this plan is making a down payment on a lot of that.
Well, Anuj, thank you for that overview. From what I've read about the American Rescue Plan and, through my work as a board member for National Good Cities, we were glad to, join with Congressman Evans and his great work to get this passed. And so some of the things that I've learned, the fact that the American Rescue Plan will reduce poverty for children by about half, and will take 1 out of 3 people out of poverty. But from a Philadelphia perspective, what do you say are the key components from the plan that will really help people here in the city of Philadelphia?
Yeah, there's a number of areas, and let's just start with kind of the immediate forms of relief. So there is approximately $1.4 billion that is coming to the city of Philadelphia, and that is going to help you and your colleagues as you go through this next budget exercise. Instead of having to cut key services that people rely upon, whether it's sanitation, whether it's more cuts to parks and rec, libraries, etc., hopefully using these dollars, you will be able to sustain and make whole as much as possible. Because it's the city services that people feel the most on a day-to-day basis. It's the quality of life in their neighborhood, it's public safety, it's cleanliness, it's access to public health. And so those dollars will hopefully play a large role as you and your colleagues go through this budget season. Simultaneously, there's also $1.8 billion for the Philadelphia School District. And while a portion of that is dedicated to helping the school district provide summer learning opportunities to curb some of the learning loss that children have incurred over the last year, a lot of it will be dedicated to the kinds of improvements, frankly, that schools should have had a long time ago, but that are critically needed now in the age of COVID to ensure that they are as safe as possible for children, staff, teachers, etc., to return to. So those are two large areas. But then there's benefits that are going directly to folks. You can start with the stimulus payments, which have already started rolling from the Treasury Department. An additional $1,400 to complete President Biden's promise that people would have $2,000 in their pockets at the start of this year. There's additional unemployment compensation benefits that are going to run through September. While we may have, hopefully, keeping our fingers crossed, seen the worst of the pandemic, we know that the economy is going to go through a step-by-step rebuild. And so folks that have lost their jobs, they may be in troubled status for some time. So continuing unemployment assistance beyond March, allowing it to continue through the summer as the economy slowly starts to rebuild, provides another form of assistance directly to folks. We also know, for example, we have a city that is plagued by food insecurity. That was existing before the pandemic, and all you need to do is drive past one of our food distribution centers now to see what is happening in real time. Folks do not have the resources to have food on the table. This bill expands SNAP by 15% so that folks have, as it stood, SNAP could not carry a household through a month. And we know what the purchasing habits were. Folks would buy food in the first 2 weeks and they would run out of food. They didn't have enough or run out of benefits, couldn't get through the month. So the 15% expansion will run through the end of September. And then we talk about the earned income tax credit expansion, the child tax credit expansion, which you all referenced. These are dollars directly into people's pockets.
And so the American Rescue Plan will provide a lot of benefits to so many individuals here in the city of Philadelphia who have been really decimated by the pandemic. I also know that Congressman Evans was instrumental in working on how do we make the Paycheck Protection Program more accessible, especially through our community development financial institutions, which are really those grassroots organizations helping our small businesses. And small businesses will also benefit from the American Rescue Plan. And as we close, now that this legislation has been passed, and as many people are saying, we're getting shots in arms and checks in pockets as we try to bounce back better, as President Biden would say. What do you see next on the horizon for this year? I know I've heard issues like infrastructure and other concepts. What do you see as coming up next as we round out this segment?
Councilman, I believe that is going to be the next installment of this generational investment in people and communities, and it's going to take the form of an infrastructure plan. We have been neglecting our infrastructure, and when I say infrastructure, it's not just roads and bridges. It's schools, it's the water systems, it's our parks, it's our recreation centers. I mean, we can run down a whole list. We have been neglecting these key community assets for decades. And every new administration comes in with a plan to address infrastructure. We heard Donald Trump talk about doing infrastructure, right? And he talked a lot about it, never quite delivered. With the Senate, with the House under Leader Pelosi, and with President Biden and Vice President Harris, we are going to see an infrastructure plan. And I believe the American Rescue Plan provides, in many ways, a short-term shot in the arm. The infrastructure plan is going to make the long-term down payment that communities across America have been calling for a long time. And while the details of it have yet to emerge and be fleshed out, I believe Philadelphia will be much better off for it when it does pass. And the congressman, once again, through his role in the Ways and Means Committee, will play a very critical role in getting this to the finish line.
I want to thank today's guest for public comment, Anuj Gupta, Chief of Staff to Congressman Dwight Evans. Thank you for providing us with some details regarding the American Rescue Plan and how it will impact us here in the city of Philadelphia and what's next coming down the pipe in Congress. And we'll be back shortly with more public comment.
I'm Council President Darrell Clark. It's crucial we stop the spread of COVID-19 in Philly. So follow this advice from the doctor and his friends. Stay home, keep social distancing, wear a mask when outside. Let's stop the spread.
Hi, I'm Julius Dr. J. Irving. In the middle of the coronavirus outbreak, the best way to show brotherly love and sisterly affection is by keeping your social distance.
Now more than ever, we all have to do our part to help save lives. That means staying at home to stop the spread.
We all need to do our part to save lives. You know what that means? Stay at home, stop the spread. We can do this together.
I want to thank today's guest, Anuj Gupta, Chief of Staff to Congressman Dwight Evans, for giving us that overview of the components of the American Rescue Plan and how it will impact us here in the city of Philadelphia. Now, traditionally, the mayor would give his budget address in early March, but because of the American Rescue Plan, the budget address will be on April 15th. And we'll get a chance to see how this new federal legislation will be impacted here locally through the mayor's budget address. Now, you can watch the mayor's budget address live on April 15th by going to Comcast channel 64 or Verizon Fios channel 41 or phlcouncil.com/watch. Or you can always watch a replay of the budget address by going to City Council's YouTube channel. Also, we're continuing our vaccination efforts here in the city of Philadelphia through the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium as well as through the city of Philadelphia. Recently, we opened a FEMA site at the convention center. And for those who are looking to register to get vaccinated, you can go to the city's website at phila.gov or phila.gov. As we continue to get into the spring and the weeks of spring, we're starting to reduce some of the restrictions, but we need to be sure and safe that even though we're starting to reduce some of the restrictions, it's important that we still continue to wear a mask, get vaccinated, and continue to do all the steps that we've taken last year to get us through this pandemic. We're almost through this process, but we still have some steps to go. And it's important for all of us to continue to do all that we can to make sure that we are safe, our friends and families are safe, and we're keeping the city of Philadelphia safe from this pandemic. And we're almost there, but through all the hard work of the citizens in our city, we will come through this together. Look forward to seeing you at our next edition of Public Comment.